The Douglas County Chair is with us. She's always also been the Vice Chair of the Douglas County Democrats. She's a KU grad and has worked at the University of South Carolina and the University of Kansas. And we thank her for visiting with us tonight a little bit about advocacy and precinct leaders and the ground game. Okay, so Pat,
right.
I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay, great. And I will share what I know and hope to learn a little bit from you folks as well, and happy to do questions. I'm going to start a little bit with advocacy. We do some, not enough in some ways. Sometimes I feel like we're very lucky in Douglas County. We have both our state representatives and our state senators are Democrats. We have a little bit of Douglas County that overlaps with Leavenworth County, and that is held by a very conservative Republican who beat the moderate Republican in the primary. So that's not so good. And we lost a state senator, Senator Hensley, who primarily worked in Shawnee County, had a little bit of Douglas County, and we didn't cost him the election, but I would have loved to have found some more votes. So we don't have it all nailed down. But when we talk about advocacy, we do make an effort to contact our representatives and senators at the state level, particularly about state issues in the legislative session. However, it's usually partly for us because our legislators are Democrats. They're going to vote the way we want, that what we'll be advocating for. It still helps them. It helps them to know, it helps them to be able to say on the floor of the House or whatever, yes, I am deluged with calls on this issue. So it's a good thing to do. One of the things that we've been focused on this year is trying to more effectively help people and help in other counties. And so we did a little bit of that. We did a fair amount of work for CD2 in the election last fall, and really had hoped to be able to get Michelle de la Isla elected. We also worked hard for Barbara Bollier, but we've got our mission has been to wring out every vote possible. So for us, we know we're going to vote Democratic in Douglas County, but I think we had an 87% turnout rate. I mean, that's our job is we got to make up for other counties. At the same time, we also did some things like we did some postcards that we sent to people, and some letters that we sent to people in other counties advocating for candidates. And we did that with a sense that and actually we would put the postcards into envelopes so that they were going just as an envelope and just from a person's name and address. So that because that there are people who might be interested in the campaign materials, but also might not want the mailman or their neighbor or whoever picked up their mail to know that they are somehow on a Democratic party list or actually be a Democrat. So something to keep in mind when you think about campaign materials for candidates. That may be something that isn't an issue for you folks, but it is in some counties. So the other thing to think about is that come general election time, if you need some extra hands to do that kind of work that doesn't have to come from your county and you need some help and it's a good cause, doesn't hurt to ask, because we have some people that will mail letters, but they won't make phone calls and they won't text. But they're good volunteers and they're happy to do that. That makes sense to them. So do reach out come campaign time. The other thing that we've been trying to do is figure out some effective ways that we could actually talk to legislators or talk to people in other counties to provide them with the help they need to do some advocating on their own. And one of the things that we are behind other organizations in doing this. So I don't claim to know it all at all. Our website, and hopefully Trina, I've got a couple websites to mention, and I can send them to you later on my iPad. I don't have access to type it into chat right now. So, or at least not without probably disconnecting somehow otherwise. So I'll send it to you later. DouglasCountyDems.org is where we have our materials. Two things I would call right now. One is under issues, and it's you go to the homepage, you connect on issues, it'll take you to the 2021 legislative session. And a lot of what we have up there right now is an organization called Loudlight. Are you familiar with Loudlight? Okay. He's got great, especially right now for the voter suppression veto, you just click on there to contact your legislator. So we're going to contact our legislators, but we're also probably going to try and contact some legislators other ways. And we are encouraging our folks in Douglas County to reach out to family and friends in other counties and give them the encouragement they need to also do this. The other thing we did on the DouglasCountyDems.org, if you go to events, we've got an action alert for voter suppression. And we had one of our really active member leaders is also a law professor and also on the board of the ACLU. She put together some materials that were before the final bill, before the voter suppression bills were actually acted on. So we now need to update, but really the information's solid. So Amy has her letter that she sent, which I believe got published in the Kansas City Star and would have been picked up by the Reflector, except that each of them want only one, to go one place. You don't want to use her letter, but you certainly can use her talking points. And they would be perfect for a phone call or an email or a text to your legislators. So whether you think they're going to change their vote or not, to the point that you make it uncomfortable for them, that's not a bad thing. So I'm hearing that there are some chinks on the Republican side, some discomfort with voting on some of these things, or voting to override some of the vetoes. And certainly in terms of voter suppression, as many people who used vote by mail and early voting that were Democrats, there also were a lot of Republicans. So it's not completely a partisan issue. So we've got sort of on there, you've got some real practical talking points, just kind of modify them. The one thing that didn't get passed was they were trying to shorten the actual period for early voting or for mail-in voting from 20 days to 15 days. That did not pass. So don't worry about that one, and don't use that text, don't use that point. We'll probably have something up by the end of the week that will be a little bit more current, but we put it up so that we've got a text or email that you can send to your legislators, an email that you can send to your cousin in the next county, which me and Trina, I think we could be, but and I've got some friends still in Topeka from my high school days that I know are can be sympathetic. So I'm nudging them now, and I think that the point of the matter is to make noise on these. That's what we really need to do. And we need to get into the habit of doing it. I don't think we have all the answers by any means, but feel free to use the tools we have put together. And please feel free to check back, because I'm hoping we'll get better at it too. And then come campaign time, if there are things like, mailing letters or campaign materials or something like that, we've got some extra hands. So keep that in mind, and we're willing to do it. Or do it in partnership. Couple of other organizations that I will mention that I think could be helpful. Besides, okay, I gave you the website for DouglasCountyDems.org. Certainly in terms of issues, go to loudlight.org. and he's got it set up on voter suppression. It is easy peasy. So, and you could then just share that link onward to other people. The other thing, and this one's a little bit more of a stretch, but the ACLU also has very good information on a variety of bills that are up there. So I'm a member, so I get their email all the time. But if you just go to ACLU Kansas, you're going to see that information. And again, it's real well organized and professionally done. We're kind of working on amateur assistance, you know, with member assistance, but the pros are really doing a good job. The third one I'll mention, and I sent out a note to my exec committee saying, hey, I'm going to be talking to the folks in Ellis County. Anything you can, you know what we've been doing, but is there anything else you can think of? And one of our members is very active in Moms Demand Action, and for everyday gun safety. So Moms Demand Action has a Western Kansas chapter. And as Jim put it, he said that Moms Demand Gun Action, Moms Demand Action, he said, I think we got more Democrats got more people to the polls than the Democrats did this last election. And they have a Western Kansas group. He said it helps isolated liberals keep their sanity. And then he also said it's kind of that Moms Demand Action is kind of the gateway drug of liberalism for GOP types. So again, you know, somebody could join. We've done a lot of work with them in our county, partly because they do reach a little bit, they reach across the aisle a little bit more than we do. And there is an important, you know, there are, you know, there's part of the vetoes have been some gun education and some other things. So that's worth it. You know, you folks may already be, you know, some of you may already be involved, but we've made a real practice of sort of when we had physical space, letting them use it. We've now got the husband of one of their leaders on our board. It's been a real good partnership for us. So something to think about, because you know, true Democrats are a little harder to come by in some areas, and but intelligent people with that share our values are always welcome. So that's my little wrap on advocacy. We also sort of make a point of trying to call the national leaders and so on and so forth, but it's, you know, it's hard. They don't care. But I think on the big issues, and certainly if the voting rights things come up, that's one that looks pretty nonpartisan. So that's one I think we should all be pushing and calling our representative and our senators. And I don't know that it's going to do any good, but you know, if you don't call them, then they got away with it clean. So that's my report on that. The other thing I'll talk about a little bit then is ground game. And, you know, we used to call this the off year, but it really isn't an off year. It's a good year to get organized. And it particularly looking at if you have local races that you want to get involved in, this is a good time to do it. June 1's the deadline for you know, candidates, and there might be some candidates that I'm looking at right here. But also then gearing up for 2022. If you think about you know, the single most important people that you can find are precinct committee people. And it's not too soon to start looking at them, start looking at where your precincts are that you don't have anybody. Print out all the Democrats and look at them, you know, sit down together and figure out who knows them, and go from there. And that would be one of the things I would say is that's just like a phone call. Pretty soon we're going to be able to be at least outside and meeting, you know, people. Good time for a picnic and, you know, plug it. But that's the single most important way, I think, to get things done. We use a combination of walking door to door, which was not good this year. What we did was we did have door hangers that had information about mail-in ballots, mail-in voting and early voting on one side, and on the other side, it listed all the candidates. And then for candidates that were specific to a certain district, we'd mark them for that particular district. We put them on doorknobs, but didn't engage with people. Now, in another year, we would be knocking on the door and engaging. It's too soon for me to say in terms of, 2022. I would hope we can do that. And I think we need to. We've got the amendment coming up also in 2022 on the primary. And that's when you really, we need every vote we possibly can on the primary in 2022. And so that's an important goal. And door hangers are helpful and people like them. What we did for people in the rural part of Douglas County was, again, we went to the envelopes and we mailed them. So that was, it's hard to go door to door in the country. Not everybody wants, I don't know what your experience is. Our experience is that not everybody welcomes a visitor if they don't know them, don't know the car, so that's one piece of it. And it just takes a huge amount of time. So we went with mailing for that. We also call and we text. Last year, I felt like people were much more receptive to getting either calls or texts. People really wanted to vote and wanted to be heard from and wanted to say they were voting. And so I felt like in 2018, there was a lot of resistance to texting. There's a lot of resistance to calling. The least resistance is knocking on the doors, frankly. People are usually pretty friendly. It's been my experience, but Trina's laughing. I don't know if I'll let others talk here. But, and these people don't have to be precinct committee people, but precinct committee people, if they make that commitment, are going to be the most reliable people you can have. We do something called block captains, which are sort of people that volunteer to do a smaller area that is kind of under the guidance of the precinct committee person, but helpful. We also are trying to figure out for this next year apartments. And I don't know if that's as big an issue for you folks, but we've got some apartment complexes that are just a pain. And I think what we're going to do this year is try to find students, well, particularly students, but students and young people who live in those apartment complexes, see if we can just get them to do that. Because I've gotten run off a couple times from trying to do it, but I think there's other ways to do it, and that's a group that's underserved. Those are frequently young people and frequently underserved, under touched. We have also looked at, there are a lot of different platforms out there now, but the thing about sort of oh God, I'm blanking on the name organization that does it. But anyway, there's a Kansas organization, Mainstream Coalition does it, and they do a kind of a connect with friends, Facebook friends basically, but connect with friends to kind of nudge them along who aren't registered to vote, encourage them to register to vote, encourage them to vote. And that's useful. I think it's particularly useful for younger people, because there are younger people that just don't vote. And that's frustrating. I mean, most of my friends do. Almost all my family does, but younger people don't always do it. They just don't get the connection and they don't see that it makes any difference. So again, that's I think an important area. I'm going to stop and listen to other people's ideas or comments or what doesn't work or what does work from your perspective. That would be helpful to me.
Yeah, that was really great information. And on the agenda, I've got number 5, this precinct information. I'd sent out some information. If anyone looked at it, if not, keep sending it out. But let's kind of, does anyone have any questions or thoughts? I really want to start building these precinct captains. We have quite a few, and I do have a list, so I can email a list out of who is currently, I've got several of them here on this Zoom that are precinct leaders. And, I like Pat's idea of having, people under them, to help or pitch in. So if anyone has any comment on this, I would like to discuss it, because I think it's something that we really have to get serious about here in our party here in Ellis County. Anyone? John?
Chairman, I would ask that you figure out a way to look at those of us who are precinct committee people and just get us, as soon as you can, a copy of the registered Democrats in our precinct. I think that if you could, and it's a tiny file, actually. I mean, even if it were everybody, it'd still be a small file. Those are not hard to email. I think the entire list for Ellis County is less than 5 meg. And so I know that if we don't have the list yet, we're sure entitled to one. We're entitled to 3 copies from the county clerk at cost. Once we have those, then we can start talking to people about some of the ideas that Pat had. The block captain is a great idea. The ability to go in and, one advantage of apartments is they all have the same address.
Yeah.
We could actually concentrate on looking at those lists, maybe sorting them by address, and then say, oh, I know that guy or that gal or that whatever, and start talking to them. There's a lot of turnover in apartments, I think, and so early it'd be
absolutely. Absolutely. I have for every precinct and ward a printed list of every Democrat ready to ship out to my current committee members. So John and Joanne, you'll be getting your list. Linda and Lou, they share, and me and Ed Harbin, we share a list. There's 140 on ours. So those are going to be coming in the mail. Thank you, John, for mentioning that. I do have them printed out. So if anyone wants them, I've got access to Vote Builder. If anyone is interested in helping with Vote Builder, please let me know. I would love some help with it. Deb's training with it. The KDP offers training. So we can make a list of anything, as most of you know, from 20-year-olds in your precinct to 20-year-olds all over Ellis County. If they voted in 2020, if they voted in 2018, we can make a list with any and all types of criteria in the list. So if anyone has any specific people they're looking for or demographics, let me know. But precinct captains, if you're signed up, that's coming in the mail along with this email you got this week. So you're going to have a list of every Democrat. And also on that list, it's going to tell you how they've been voting the last, let's say, I think 4 years is what I put on the first one.
Pat, before we let Pat go here, I suspect you've used Vote Builder quite a bit.
Some, yeah. I'm not
tips,
fabulous, but yes.
Any tips you can give us on how to use the data mining that has available?
A couple things that I would, recommend. And this ties into that. I would also look at your unaffiliateds and independents. And we called them a lot this last election. We were hoping for sort of and we do have, because we have a lot of state employees that are in Lawrence that commute to Topeka. Those people are not as likely to be Democrats. But also you may see that at Fort Hays State. You may see that, there's other ways, there are lots of reasons to be unaffiliated or independent. You may see that with younger voters, and those are worth connecting with. I not so much to encourage them to in 2022, you could be calling young people and say, you know, if you want to register to vote if you want to vote as a Democrat, you know, you could do that. But regardless, you should vote if you care about, you know, the amendment, the amendment to the abortion laws. So, you know, there are, you figure out what works for your community, but I would definitely look at that group, because I also think that's where some of your younger people are going to be. It is for us. I also have started looking, when I see, I have mixed families, that you can look in the, also in the household, so that when you're calling, if the husband might be an independent, or it looks like there's a grown, you know, an 18 or 19-year-old, always good to ask about whether they're registered to vote, whether, you know, kind of feel them out. Because again, there are a lot of people that don't affiliate as being a Democrat, but might be leaning, and it's good to know those people. So that's one of the ones I look at. What we're going to be doing in the next couple of months is also looking at the precincts that we don't have precinct captains for. And that's then, I think, you know, all of us in our executive committee, we're going to be printing out those precincts and saying, here are the Democrats, who knows anybody here? And that's how we're going to start. You know, we're going to start calling and then we're calling blind. But for those, your first job as a precinct committee person, I would say, is to call and ask people, you know, just checking in. I'm John Bird. I'm your committee, you know, I'm your county committee person, and hope you're going to be voting Democrat. Would you be able to volunteer a little bit to help with us? You know, that kind of thing. And you may get some volunteers that way. Again, I think the leftover of 2020 is that people are more engaged than they used to be.
Yeah, and you make a good point. If you can find a household with a Democrat in it and an unaffiliated, that unaffiliated's at least eating dinner with them, if not sleeping with them.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. But if that unaffiliated is a high school kid or a college kid, they also may not be registered to vote, or they may be registered to vote, but they may very well not be registered as Democrats. So,
Right.
Yeah. But they might be willing to volunteer.
Okay, I think that's a great point with the use. You know, I find a lot of unaffiliated, and I agree, it's a lot of young people. So I think that's very helpful, and I'll print out some use for our precinct people. So thanks, Pat. That's very, very helpful.
You are welcome.
Okay. Hey, we'll be using your resources, and we appreciate you zooming in here. And thanks for sharing Representative Haswood with us on Friday.
She's pretty
It was a
amazing,
delight.
isn't she? Yeah. Yeah, she's pretty amazing. Yeah, we feel very lucky. She has done a fabulous job campaigning, and I have to say that, you know, this is the week that the legislators are at home, and she's never at home. She's always going, you know. So I think after she left you, she picked up trash at the river, and then she was at the boys and girls clubs today, and she's just a mover. She might be governor someday.
I felt like we were seeing the rock band before it was a famous type of gig with her.
That's
so,
right.
It was wonderful, wonderful. Hey,
Great.
Thanks so much, and we'll be in touch, Pat.
All right, bye-bye. Good luck.
Bye-bye. Okay, so let's just roll right on to the agenda here with thank you, first of all, to Kurt Byers for doing the media release for the Haswood event. It was lovely, and everyone that showed up, thank you. Thanks for those who didn't eat, because there wasn't enough, but I didn't hear anyone complaining. So one thing that we're kind of looking at revamping is I've had many members from the yesteryears doing something like, I just branded it Dems, Drinks, and Dogs, just for something to put on the agenda here. And we've hosted these types of events and gatherings in past years. When I first moved to town, we were doing them. I know many of you were part of them. So if you guys are interested, if anyone's interested in hosting, send an email. and let's start organizing little events. You know, we can talk about it. We can put a little group together. I like the idea of hosting an event maybe for someone that's going to run for office. Let's say someone maybe on this Zoom was going to run for school board, and maybe I would host, you know, like a social gathering with this person and some of my friends and other Democrats. So if we kind of get in the habit of having these social events, then we can tie them in, I feel like, easier with candidates and inviting more people out. Because I think the best, you know, if we get used to hosting our local people, then when Governor Kelly comes to town, or hopefully, you know, bigger names, then we're really prepared to know how to host a party. So if anyone has any ideas, email me, let me know. But I'd like to start kind of getting those kicked off. We can be outside. Obviously, people are ready to visit and hang out with like-minded people, as we found out on Friday. So I kind of am looking at kicking those off in May. So let me know if you have any thoughts. The next thing I've got here is we're going to sign up for Act Blue unless I hear a large amount of resistance against it. I spoke with Josh Wassinger and he can set it up. It is a charge of $3.95. It's taken out of the donation. Generally, when I donate on Act Blue, I donate enough to cover the charge. So just so everyone knows, I'm going to sign up for that. We'll be pushing it out on emails, Facebook. I think it'll make it easier for people to donate. If there's an event, you can click on that and just make it easier. So we talked about the precinct information. So if anyone's interested, let me know. I've got a really good spreadsheet that shows everyone that's a precinct leader. I've got detailed maps that show everyone's address. So if you're interested in doing it or being a co-captain or something, just reach out and we can set you up. Next Tuesday, May 4th, we've got if you're interested in running for office, we've got a Zoom. I've got some people that are going to visit about what it takes to run for city commission, school board, and state office. We'll have some information. I'm hoping a K&E representative is going to be there too and visit with us. Going to have some information about how you file, deadlines, how much it costs, and a lot of, I've got some good links, some information. Eber sent some stuff from the Kansas Municipality League, which looked great. And like I said, the KNEA has provided a lot of information. So we're going to kind of visit about that. So if you know anyone, let them know. I'll be emailing and we'll put some stuff on the Facebook page about this May 4th event at 5:30.
Trina, do you
anyone have any questions?
I was going to ask, do you want to say like what positions we know are coming up that people could be running for or should be thinking about?
Absolutely, Anna. Thank you. There are 3 city commission openings here in Hayes and 3 school board openings. There's also a few in Victoria, but since we don't have anyone in here in Victoria, I've reached out. Their mayor is a Democrat, so I've reached out. Maybe we'll hear from them, maybe not. But that's what we have, 3 city commission and 3 school board. So if anyone knows anyone, let them know. I think it'll be informative. We're going to talk about how much time and campaigning it takes and how much time it entails to actually be on the board. So does anyone have any questions about that? Great. Okay. I think the next meeting, May 25th, we should start doing Zoom and in-person hybrid meetings. I like the idea of keeping us on Zoom. So if anyone can't come to the actual in-person meeting, they could still be part of the meeting. I don't know why we would stop doing that at this point. So I don't know if anyone has any ideas of where to have it. We could skip around places until we found a place. I kind of like maybe not going to the same place. So if anyone has any ideas, let me know. Defiance Brewery is going to host us, but it's going to have to be in June or July before they are up and running. So that is one place that would like to have us, but that can't be in May. Anyone have any questions or comments on that one? Great. Okay, next thing, June 1st, noon. Paisley Pear is a great idea. I'll put that on my list. I think moving around is maybe a good idea, kind of frequently everyone. June 1st, noon is the filing deadline that kind of goes in with everything I've been blabbing about this May 4th thing. Also, if you go to our Facebook page in the About section, you can link up with our YouTube. We have a new YouTube channel. So Deb has got it going with the help of Tim Peterson from Monument, Kansas, has been helping us out. So we've got that. Oh, there, good job, Deb, thank you. Okay, and then I've got two things here. One is I've got some Fort Hays State students on here. Thank you for joining. And a few of them mentioned that they'd be interested in getting with us to do a registration event. So I want everyone to be thinking about that. Probably when kids are coming back to school. I think this year would be a really good prep for us for next year. You know, I mean, there are municipal things to vote on that do affect college kids. But anyway, it would be a good way for us to kind of practice how we would have a bigger registration event maybe for next year, and working together with Fort Hays with our resources and their star power, their firepower, their youth. So I want everyone to be thinking about that. I'm going to be with Will and Crystal, and I had a couple other Fort Hays students. So we're going to get together and do that. So I'll be looking for older members of the party to help with that. Okay, and the last thing here, we're going to do a little book club here. Here's the book, No Place Like Home. It's by CJ Janovoy. It's Lessons in Activism. It's from LGBT Kansas. I feel like it's activism, period. It's really good. And it's got a whole chapter about Sandra Stenzel from Waukene. It's amazing. So I've got Megan from the library here. She's going to visit just a little bit about the book club. CJ's going to be with us either in person or on Zoom on June 22nd. She's going to talk about this book and talk about editorial writing and getting a good voice. So Megan, I'm going to let you visit a little bit.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Megan Zampieri Lilpop. I live kitty corner from Trina, and No Place Like Home is the book club book. We are going to hold the book club at the library on June 22nd. The time has yet to be determined. It will not be a library event. It's going to be at the library, but not a partnership at this time. We do have a couple of people who are in my friends group. Liz Haymore is the current chair of the Wichita chapter of GLSEN, which is the Gay Lesbian Student Education Network. She is transitioning to a different role. She is also her precinct captain. So that's interesting. And I forgot about that actually when I was talking to Trina and Anna. Tori Gleason is a trans activist and chiropractor and all around excellent person. And she's also consented to join us for the book club, whether that's on Zoom or in person. We will still determine. This is going to work, I think, really well if we treat it like a book club, you know, and it's just, we're reading the book. We can have questions online in advance of the event. And then on the event, we talk about the book. And then we have that bonus of the excellent author attending and leading us into some different directions. I agree, it's nonpartisan. You know, this is a cool thing about Kansas is that we have started almost everything. And so it's just working inside our history and continuing to do that. So I'm pretty excited about it. We have already gotten 10 additional copies of the book at the library available for checkout. by anyone with a library account. And there's a copy on our digital platform, Overdrive. And there's a copy if you have a state of Kansas library card. So there's 2 of those copies floating out there, and I can get additional ones too. It's actually not very expensive, and it's completely justified if people are asking for it. That makes 13 copies that are already available for checkout, because our library already had 3 copies. So one lives in the Kansas room, by the way. It is the Hayes Public Library. We are getting new meeting room software. And so I haven't booked the room yet, but I did clear it with the programmer, and it's gonna be available for us. That's the plan. So we will be able to be there, and it's free. The rules around that does mean that it has to be open to the public, and that there can't be soliciting or, what were the other words, Anna? I don't know if you could help me with this one. It's something that we can't collect money,
No
can't ask
fundraising.
for money, no fundraising, you know, and no closed doors, right? So it has to be completely open to anyone who wants to attend. So that's, but I think that's fantastic rules. So I'm pretty excited about it, and I look forward to seeing what you all think.
Thank you, Megan. Does anyone have any comments on this? Any thoughts? I'm kind of looking like the May 22nd is a kickoff. I'd like to do like a picnic type kickoff where we could talk about this book, the precinct, have a big barbecue. So anyway, we need to find a date on that. So that's that. So Megan, thank you. I think this book club will be amazing. I think it's amazing that CJ Janovoy is coming to visit with us. And she used to work at that the Pitch Weekly, which was one of my favorites up in the Kansas City area. So if anyone knows about that, she was a huge writer for the Pitch. And she also, back in the day, who's the big fat angry man on the radio that just died? Anyway, she
Rush.
interviewed him. She's got a great
Limbaugh.
article
Rush
on it.
Limbaugh.
Thank you, Rush. She's
But-
got an
but
article where
Trina-
she interviewed Rush before he made it big. So,
Trina, fat
yes.
angry man works fine.
fat angry man on the radio.
That's actually
Works
the most
great.
appropriate name, I think. Kind of like the former guy.
That's amazing. Okay, does anyone have anything for comment or any ideas, criticisms? Nothing? Okay, hey, we'll plan to see some of you May 4th, May 25th, and we're gonna have another picnic. I'll get you information, okay? Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Thanks, Trina.
Thanks, Trina.
Okay, bye-bye.